Now this is the final part of lesson 1.1 on arguments. And I want to say something about non-argumentative material for a minute. Sometimes a passage that contains an argument also contains material that isn't part of the argument. I mentioned before that conclusion doesn't mean ending, and it also doesn't mean a final thought. Sometimes a passage contains a remark that's sort of the last thing someone wants to say about a subject. Don't confuse that with the conclusion. So take a look at this example 5. It says, gorillas are disgusting. They eat their own vomit. But it is fun to go to the zoo. Take a second to decide what you think the conclusion of this argument is. The conclusion is that gorillas are disgusting. Imagine asking this person for a reason to believe things. If you thought the conclusion might have been that it is fun to go to the zoo, you might be thinking of a conclusion as sort of an ending or a final thought. But remember, we define conclusion as something someone offers a reason to believe. And this person doesn't offer a reason to believe that it's fun to go to the zoo. Imagine asking, why do you think it's fun to go to the zoo? There's nothing here that's really an answer to that request. But if you ask, why do you think gorillas are disgusting? Why should I believe that gorillas are disgusting? Then they have offered that they eat their own vomit. It seems natural that that would be something you might offer as a defense of the idea that they're disgusting. So the statement that it's fun to go to the zoo is kind of like a final thought. It's the person saying, well, last thing I have to say about this subject is that I do like going to the zoo. But that's not the conclusion of the argument. In fact, it's not part of the argument. Your conclusion of this argument is gorillas are disgusting. The premise is that they eat their own vomit. And then the statement that it's fun to go to the zoo is neither a conclusion nor a premise. It's sort of a statement that frames the argument in a way, but it's not part of the argument. You can also have a situation where information or statements that are not part of the argument precede the argument, oftentimes introducing the argument. So take, for example, this example 5. Yesterday I saw a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. They should make a law against that. It makes the neighborhood look bad. What's the conclusion here? It's that they should make a law against it. If you ask this person, why do you think they should make a law against that? And that here is dogs peeing on fire hydrants. We can fill that in. The parts of arguments are statements, not sentences. So once again, we don't have to just pull sentences out of the passage and call those conclusions and premises. We can think of the conclusion of this argument as being the statement that they should make a law against dogs peeing on fire hydrants. And if you ask the person, why should they make a law against dogs peeing on fire hydrants? Why should I believe that would be a good law? They seem to have offered that it makes the neighborhood look bad. That doesn't mean that I think that's a good reason, but I can tell that it's being offered as a reason because it's the kind of thing that people sometimes say. So we have the conclusion that they should make a law against it, and we have the premise. Why? Because it makes the neighborhood look bad. The first sentence, yesterday I saw a dog peeing on a fire hydrant, doesn't serve as a reason to believe it should be illegal. It doesn't seem to make sense that the person would be saying, why should they make a law against it? Because I saw it. If you thought that was a justification for making a law against something, then you'd say, yesterday I saw a building, they should make those illegal. Yesterday I saw a bird, make those illegal, which is ridiculous. And there's a principle of fairness when we're interpreting an argument, when we're trying to understand what an argument is. You want to be fair to the person giving the argument. So don't interpret them as offering a premise that's totally ridiculous unless you absolutely have to, like the example I gave you about the broccoli being a vegetable. So in this case, the statement that I saw a dog peeing on a fire hydrant yesterday is not intended to provide a reason that it should be made illegal. Instead, it's introducing the topic. Why would I be arguing about laws about dogs peeing on fire hydrants in the first place? Well, I happen to have seen it yesterday, and so that's why the topic comes up. So here we have two kinds of non-argumentative material that can be mixed in with arguments. You have a sort of final thought type statement, as with the gorilla example, and then you have introductory material or initial explaining material that happens before the argument is given, like with the example about the dog peeing on fire hydrant. So at this point, you should be able to do exercise 1.1, part 1 from the textbook. Most of those examples don't contain a lot of non-argumentative material. In most of those examples, you have a conclusion and a few premises supporting the conclusion and nothing else. But there might be one or two that have material that's not part of the argument, material that's neither premise nor conclusion, statements that are neither premise nor conclusion. So keep an eye out for that. There's only a few examples that have material like that. But when I give you a test, there will be material that's not part of the argument, and you'll have to label it as not part of the argument.